Well, hey, y'all. Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon here. Let's restart this because I messed up, but that's okay. I forgot to hit the stream button. So give me just a moment. We will re-rack this thing.
For more than 100 years, First Choice Bank has provided dedicated community banking to North Mississippi. The banking products and services you need when you need them. At First Choice, you're our priority. Make First Choice your choice for banking.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Welcome in here to the virtual Mississippi Live room-to-room weather center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Sorry about that. I forgot to click a button. So that's why you can't abandon me without Gabe Maynard here to keep me on track. But welcome in the Mississippi Live weather at 10 o'clock from the room-to-room weather center. Hopefully you have had a wonderful day on this Labor Day holiday weekend. Certainly it has been mainly dry and certainly warm. It's hot. Maybe, because we certainly had some lower 90s out there today. How much longer we have that kind of weather? That's one of the things we'll be looking at here in a couple of minutes. But as we look at your headlines for this evening, we will have rain for some, maybe a decent number of us as we go into your Tuesday. We're warm to start September. Certainly we were for today, and that will continue. But hot or really hot? I don't know if we're talking about that. Certainly, we're looking toward the weekend forecast, and at this point, largely looking dry. But how could a front impact things? We have one coming on around the Friday time period, and that is one of the things we will answer here in a couple of minutes live here from the room-to-room weather center. Outside Pontotoc right now, still waiting on them to get that reporting station out there at the airport kind of fixed and up and going, but showing that little mix of cloud cover. Not much in the way of precipitation out there. We are largely still dry at this time. Same story right now in Starkville, 72 degrees in Starkville at this instant. Good evening to you down there in Oktibbeha County. And looking again at that mix of cloud cover in the Tupelo area as we look out at this moment toward kind of the east and northeast. Not a lot of meaningful moisture showing up on any of our cameras at this time, though a greater quantity of that for tomorrow, and some of that around for the first part of tomorrow. You can see that rain coverage. We're looking at around 20 to 30% as we go into the evening, as we go into the morning time period. I think into the evening, we'll still have some rain chances for your Tuesday. But I think the big headline is if we don't see much tomorrow, Wednesday's rain chances aren't great. But after that, it's pretty dry, even into probably next week. So this is tending to be one of our driest times of the year every year. And so no big shock in that regard. Looking at Mississippi Live weather radar at this instant. Again, kind of the wider shot here showing up with our trough of low pressure back to the west. That's what this kind of brown line is here that we've been watching. That is going to generally be moving in our direction, kind of send a ripple this way and increase the odds of us seeing a little bit of precipitation as a result of that as that gradually works its way eastward. I'm going to kick this over here to our satellite perspective. You can kind of see there are a few showers, kind of more of those back out on the plains associated with that. But in general, this little wave is just going to have just enough to produce some rainfall with it. And the portion of it back out into Arkansas is probably the more impressive, or at least this initial wave that'll bring us a chance for a few sprinkles as we go toward tomorrow morning. Bring it back into Mississippi Live weather radar. Not a lot out there to track, is there, at this time? Showing a couple of showers back out into West Alabama there near the Gordo area at this time. Again, moderate rainfall with this as it slides southward. But again, that's about it. This is not a particularly impressive little shower, that we did have a few lightning strikes a little bit ago. I'm going to track that southward. We will say, let's go a little faster than 10. Let's go about 12 miles per hour or so. So you can see we're looking there at Holman by about 10:29, Pioneer about 10:02, and Pleasant Grove about 11:09. Again, moderate rainfall. That is about it out of that. And honestly, there's a pretty good chance that that does not even hold on as far as that is concerned. And kind of widen things back out here, most of what you're seeing is just clear air returns, bugs, things of that nature, nothing that's overly significant. But we are watching getting back toward Cleveland, some showers back to the west. I'm going to see if we can kind of pop this over here to our camera there near the Cleveland area. Give me a moment to get that to kind of pop on, see if we can actually get some rainfall closer to the surface. And appreciate all of you guys for watching us on this evening. And though we're pulling this up here, I actually see maybe a star or two showing up with that as well. So Cleveland, 79 degrees current temperature at this time, dew point at around 70. So not super high, but not exactly dry air by any stretch either at this point. Okay, so as we look at Futurecast, one of the things that we're going to kind of look ahead toward related to this is just the fact that I think we'll probably have some sprinkles try to roll out of Arkansas related to this. But notice here on Futurecast, it has a few more, it has those storms near the Alabama state line a little bit stronger. So kind of redeveloping a few showers the next hour or two here closer to Shelby and Dumas, kind of working their way eastward as we continue to watch things kind of go eastward there. Again, I mean, most of those right back at the Mississippi River still, even at 6 o'clock in the morning. There could be some sprinkles farther east. Our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, will be updating you on any issues we have here starting at 6:30 a.m. and, of course, live at 6:30, at 7, and 7:30 a.m. And then, of course, if something gets strong enough, that'd be the case. But notice here how 9 o'clock in the morning, it's a fairly decent quantity of showers there around Greenwood back toward Grenada, kind of working their way back toward the east. So that midday kind of flare-up of showers and rainfall, obviously, depending on if it runs even just a little bit faster, could obviously slow down that morning commute and certainly encourage the indoor plans as far as lunchtime is concerned, with some rain chances again popping up into the afternoon. So over the next 24 hours, as you can see, 6 o'clock in the morning, rain coverage is about 20% or so. 9 a.m. we'll say about that coverage, and then gradually increasing by midday into the afternoon. I think with the heating of the day, this wave is pretty close to overhead. I might be a little high for the late day percentages for tomorrow, but thinking that we'll at least have some rain chances do continue into tomorrow evening and arguably tomorrow night, related to just kind of how this all ends up playing out. So we'll be looking at that more detail come up here in a couple of minutes. Speaking about that here in a couple of minutes, we'll have the latest look in particular at the rain chances and the timing for later tomorrow. We're also looking ahead toward one of the other things I think we'll really kind of focus on is how high those temperatures remain as we go into this upcoming weekend. That, as Mississippi Live Weather at 10 continues from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
If you're facing a DUI charge, every decision matters. At the law office of Andrew W. Stewart II, we provide a skilled defense to protect your record, rights, and future. Call today or visit drewstewartlaw.com. Your future is worth defending.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, happy Monday night. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon here. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather at 10 p.m. on what has been kind of a cloudy sort of day. Not a lot of meaningful rainfall out of what we've gotten out of some of these showers, but from time to time we've gotten a little bit. Appreciate y'all in Macon for watching us here. 76 degrees current temperature at this time. Our winds out of kind of a southeasterly direction, about 3 miles per hour. We're largely been cut off from the meaningful moisture down in the Gulf of Mexico. That's why the stickiness factor has not been terribly high. I mean, anytime that dew point comes in at 66, that's very respectable. And that's about the kindest thing I can describe a dew point as anytime we end up seeing that there. Aberdeen coming in 73 degrees. That feels like about 73 as well. I mean, this reporting station that we always get the data from Aberdeen on tends to always run a little bit more humid than reality, and it's only coming in the upper 60s. So that tells you that air remains, again, pretty nice, fairly pleasant, all things considered, for this time of the year. In Batesville, that'll be our third camera we'll check out this evening. Again, we've had that shield of like clouds. You can kind of see that reflection off of the city lights there in Panola County of some of those clouds at this instant, but no meaningful rainfall. We do have just a little bit of green showing up there, kind of in the northeast of Batesville, trying to fall, but that moisture way up there, falling in the drier air and struggling to get it down closer to the surface here. So as we kind of bring things back over here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar at this instant, kind of clear things on off of that, it is primarily just those clear air returns we're looking at. And notice how I left this as a 12-hour loop. And you can see we did have a couple little sprinkles to try to kind of move through the area today. They've just really struggled to get anything of significance going at this point. And obviously, more than anything, just keeping those clouds around. As you look at your school bus forecast on your Tuesday, presented by IMPC, that hour-by-hour forecast has a 67 at pickup time, a few spotty showers possible. I'd say greater chances we go through the morning. I would build in extra time for that morning commute. Again, Maggie on starting at 6:30 a.m. These are live updates, by the way, right at 6:30, right at 7, and right at 7:30 each morning here on Mississippi Live Weather. You can check her out for the very latest. We'll also tomorrow morning be talking more about that Mississippi Live Game of the Week. I think we've probably got the 3 selected. Not 100% sure. I'm going to sit down after the show. We're going to look at kind of the greatest number of you that have, tried to kind of push those forward, and then we'll let y'all vote on that as we're looking ahead at that kind of part of school, but maybe not your school bus forecast itself. So look at a futurecast here. You'll notice as we go throughout the overnight hours, not a ton of rainfall out there, and a lot of this, I would argue, struggling to get down to the surface there. We're 2 a.m. again, still pretty spotty. As we get closer here to around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, notice more of these Oxford, Grenada, Kosciuszko kind of working their way eastward by 6 a.m. So again, a few sprinkles. I don't know if they're really going to extend your morning commute that much, but obviously there's a little bit out there that we're watching. Temperatures, lows, starting off around 64 Tunica, 66 in Clarksdale, will be 66 in Houston, 67 degrees in Starkville, which is honestly fairly close to where we should be for this time of year. Just a couple degrees, I'd say, slightly below that 30-year average. As we head toward the next 7 days, again, those low temperatures there, I have this set kind of looking at the warmer end of the spectrum, and you'll notice we don't have a lot of days that would even qualify. So the takeaway is this: these temperatures largely, for lows in particular, remain extremely, I keep right, respectable, the word coming to mind today. I don't know. Anyway, I do see some folks there in the chat. We're going to look at some of what you're asking about here in just a minute. But Greenwood, back to Oxford. Now notice how this particular version, this would be the 0Z or the 7 p.m. update of the longer range HRRR model here. We talked about this at 5 and 6 o'clock, how we were waiting to see how this would develop it. And notice how this has, again, a greater quantity of these storms, a little bit heavier there, even to 8 to 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning for your Tuesday. So if this, again, this is a little more aggressive than what our highest resolution, our most recent version of the model was coming in with a little bit ago. So the takeaway should be that, again, a couple of these could have a couple of stronger wind gusts, but I think it's enough out there to maybe slow down some of your travel plans for early tomorrow. This is one of our better chances for rainfall, and you'll notice even it is probably only 30 to maybe at most 40% rain coverage there with some isolated thunderstorms. Noontime, 1 to 2 o'clock. Heavier one there depicted closer to around Choctaw County, a couple out here toward Water Valley and Grenada. A couple that are getting a little heavier there south of Hullendale and south of Greenville and Eudora there by the 2 to 3 to 4 o'clock time period. And then as we head toward 5 to 6 p.m., again, spotty in nature, maybe used up a lot of the available fuel by that point in time. We're going 87 in Senatobia area high temperature on your Tuesday, 87 degrees in Water Valley, 88 in Grenada. We're about 86 in Starkville, 87 degrees in Tupelo, and 88 in Columbus, and 82 near the Alabama state line. So I'm showing you strike model here, and this is going to be our NAM strike. And then I'm going to go back and we're going to check that HRRR one more time here. So I wanted to kind of give a couple different perspectives as we're trying to kind of resolve how these storms are going to redevelop. This particular version doesn't have a whole lot of that continuing into your early Wednesday morning, late Tuesday night there. But then it tries to develop a bigger kind of flare up, but mainly on the Alabama side as we go into your Wednesday. So that's the thing. If we don't see a lot of meaningful rainfall on your Tuesday, by Wednesday, those chances get a little bit less. But this is about as dry as it gets until Wednesday afternoon, and then it kind of has a few of these a little heavier from Greenwood back out here toward Water Valley, mainly in the Delta, and then trying to work their way eastward as we go into the evening time period on your Wednesday. So I'm going to go ahead and click that one off for a moment, if you give me a moment to get rid of that there, and I'm going to bring it back here to our highest resolution, one of our main projections here that we tend to watch in this situation. And so this would be that HRRR. And again, this has, Tuesday evening, a few of these that are still heavier near the Tennessee state line. But you can see that overall trend, most of these out of here as we head into your Wednesday evening. So we're going to have to take that percentage down a little bit more looking at this very, very latest data there. The brown line, we haven't really addressed this tonight. Let's widen things out here for a moment. That brown line is a trough of low pressure, kind of a spark point, an initiation point for some isolated showers and thunderstorms. You can see how it does a better job down there closer to Jackson. As we wipe that off the map, though, it's not a really good focusing mechanism. That's part of the reason why, again, our rain chances become a little more diffuse as we go into your Wednesday. Or Wednesday, 9 o'clock in the morning. And you'll notice, again, out in Alabama, like we were looking at on that other projection, the majority of the rainfall. So this one does also start developing some of these thunderstorms a little heavier, especially up closer to the Tennessee state line out toward Memphis, Hernando, Clarksdale, and Cleveland by around 3 to 4 o'clock on Wednesday. So this is a bigger upswing in some of the rain coverage there for Wednesday. Hopefully that materializes. That would then give us another shot. But again, this is spotty, and kind of like what we've talked about at 5 and 6 o'clock, we have most of us, a deficit over the last month or so versus where we should be rainfall-wise. This will help a few, but this isn't going to be a drought buster by any stretch. Maybe you'll get lucky enough, maybe I'll get lucky enough to have more outside at the house here. 88 degrees Grenada. We're 86 Water Valley. Hold on, I went right past that a little too fast. Let's go back for a second here. Lower to middle 80s out there for your Wednesday. Near 90 for Belzona, for Greenville there, and at 87 Kosciuszko, around 86 degrees in Amory. Okay, now let's go back to that hour by hour there. On your Tuesday, again, 67 at 7 a.m. We're 81 degrees by noon, and then into the mid-80s by afternoon. Rain coverage, I show 40% there. I honestly probably got to move this back a little bit. Latest data not keeping those showers around quite as late into the evening, and probably moving this a little forward there, so a slightly higher percentage there around noontime. Again, forecast always a work in progress. That next update on that, of course, from Maggie tomorrow morning. 7-day forecast, we're 86 by your Wednesday. Rain coverage 30% or so. That means still, even with it being one of our better rain chances, a lot of us still missing out there. Drier Thursday, Friday, and this upcoming weekend. I referenced that next front. We have another front that, again, right ahead of that on Friday, back up to 90 and then back into the 80s behind that. So it is a little bit cooler, but by no stretch of the imagination would I call this necessarily a cold front or a significant cold front there. So certainly something to watch as we get a little bit closer. Now, I'm looking behind the scenes here, and I'm looking at our chat on YouTube and Facebook and all those folks there. Appreciate Judy there and Ayuka for watching. Man, Marion Ripley talk about how she hasn't gotten any rain. I hear you. The house here got some trees with issues. Certainly, like Ricky mentioning, it's all going around his house there. So hoping he's the case. And Patty, everybody pretty much wants the rainfall. Just kind of looking at some folks here, just talking about different things. Give me a moment as I kind of slide up on our chat. See if I can get it back to look what some other folks were talking about. Sorry about the black screen at the middle there, at the beginning there. I forgot to click a button. So appreciate that. Appreciate everybody's patience as I got that eventually up and working there. I saw somebody. Hold on a second here. That's another friend that's doing this independent broadcast sort of thing. Is like, man, this is some work. It is. So I saw somebody here. Give me a second to kind of catch where it was. Somebody made a comment about, well, I appreciate y'all liking the virtual studio. That helps. It works pretty well at home. A solar storm watch and the potential for seeing the northern lights tonight and tomorrow night. So if we're honest, I hadn't looked very closely at that. Give me a moment to see if I can pull something up related to that. So that's gonna take me a minute. So if you're willing to be patient with me for a second while we do that, here's what I think we will do. Rather than keep everyone around, I'm gonna finish up this broadcast and I'm gonna come right back on immediately after that, okay? So we'll run kind of like the final break, and then we'll come right back on after that. And I'll hopefully have more on that solar forecast to let you know about that here in just a second. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Appreciate y'all for supporting us here at Mississippi Live Weather. And of course, our next live broadcast is gonna be tomorrow morning, starting at 6:30 a.m., 6:30, 7:30 a.m. Our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, she is live with anything you need to know to keep you ahead of the weather forecast, including, of course, Mississippi Live Weather Radar, which is going to have some showers out there. So she'll have the very latest updates on that right here from the Room to Room Weather Center. And of course, we'll be back in the evening at 5, 6, and 10. Myself and meteorologist Gabe Maynor, who enjoyed his Labor Day, he'll be back to make sure I don't mess things up for tomorrow. So we're going to take a quick break here, and I'll come back and we'll address that solar stuff as we kind of go in an extended edition of Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
At Bulldog Burger, we take the burger game to the next level, like the Freshman 15, stacked with panko fried mozzarella. Unleash your appetite.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Okay, welcome back. So I'm trying to work up a way that I can show this better for you. It's going to take me a minute. If I were back at the station, I'm at home right now. So if I were back at the station, I could easily kind of pop up something here, but I don't know if I have something to hack together where I can make this work. So I might not be able to show you much, but I can tell you probably more than I can show you. Well, actually, hold on. There's a way. What is it, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. I got an idea. Let's try this. Okay, so so the place I go for that kind of information is spaceweather.gov. That's kind of the space weather arm of the government. Hold on, I should be able to just, yeah, look at that. Okay, so who was asking about this a minute ago here? River was asking about the solar. Let's bring this back down here. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's part Jayhawks tie, part not Kansas, part United States tie. So we got that. Okay, so as you can see there, they're predicting a G3 geomagnetic storm. The spaceweather.gov does a great job. You know, they have the aurora forecast right on there as well. And I want to say, where is that? One of the ways in which they kind of tell us this planetary index, when this starts getting here in the reds, that's when we start getting a little interested. But this particular graphic right here, as this loads in, will show you again kind of where we're at on the solar. Let's see if it'll let me drag that. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, where would we be talking for just the briefest moment? Looked like you might be able to pull something off there, but that's still way up north. Pause. Well, I can't do two things at once. Okay, right about there. And so what's that time? So that was right around 00, so right around 7 p.m. is when that kind of kicked out like that. So looked like it might for a moment, and definitely things tapered off with that as well. So I don't know that we're going to get all the way to solar storm territory on any of this stuff. Where is it? There's a good link on here. It's been just long enough that I'm struggling to find it. Products and data. Models. Let's see, that was the 30-minute forecast, what we're looking at there. Watches, alerts, warnings. There we are. So this is where they kind of talk about it. I know this is kind of gross text and everything, but this is where they sort of talk about some of the predictions. But see, that was earlier today when that was issued, so that's not going to do us any good. Let's see if we can find another one of these that maybe can. Where is that? I thought it was just spaceweather.gov. Let me try just /Aurora, because I thought it was that simple. Nope, that's definitely not it. Oh, let's see here. It's on here someplace. I don't know why I'm missing it. Let's see. Planetary index. Boy, we have one of the storm chasers. Let me check in here a second here. He is usually all on this. And let me see if he has been messaging about this. Okay, so KP7 with a KP5 current conditions. BZ is nice and south. Nice storming on the magnometer. Don't think it's good enough for Mississippi, to my understanding. That's Adrian with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, who I don't know that he has any special training. He has a special super duper interest in it, and so that's part of where it comes from there. But yeah, so talking about how this is fairly high, but when you start looking for it to try to get down here, it's got to be close to the top of this graph. So KP7 isn't. I mean, that's decent, but again, that's not super high. So there you go. So I don't know that we're pulling off geomagnetic storm, and I appreciate Adrian for that. I'm gonna have to go ahead and like his comment in there for getting me through on that. There's a better place on here, I thought, where it explains this all better. Oh well. A lot of good information, tons of good information here on spaceweather.gov. But yeah, you can see kind of at the top there. That's usually the one I go look at. And when I come to this page and that one says predicted is up here and it's red, that's when I start looking a little more closely at it. When it's just orange, that can cause disruptions, but it's less likely to be on that significant level. And they have, I think, good overall explainers on there as well. Hopefully that helps. I don't know if that's any good information, but anyway, there you go. So that's a thing. All right, it is 10:33. I'm going to call it a night. Hopefully y'all have a great night, and might as well leave you guys looking at a camera, because I love those cameras. Which camera should we go with? We will go with, I see there's just a few sprinkles out there, so let's go in the Delta. We'll leave you with Greenville. A little south of a lot of that, but a couple sprinkles up there, 79 degrees. Hopefully y'all have a good night, and we'll see you back here bright and early starting at 4:30 tomorrow morning on Mississippi Live Weather. And again, appreciate y'all for supporting us here, for downloading the app. Yeah, thank you.